experiencing a situation where the state is constantly invading into these rights, and without the vigilance of the people, it is so easy in the Kenyan situation to make one step ahead and 2 steps back. But my comfort is that our constitution has stayed intact. If you are aware, during the constitution-making process, before it went to the people, it was taken to Parliament for consideration. Parliament considered nearly 100 amendments to the Constitution, and ever since, there have been attempts to amend the Constitution. I think it is part of our achievement that this Constitution has remained intact, and particularly the Bill of Rights. It is important that all of us realize the centrality of the human rights. It pervades our life, and it is found from the very beginning clauses of the Constitution right up to the last clauses of the Constitution, so that we can build monuments, we can build roads, but without respecting human rights, we cannot build the kind of society which is spelled out in Article 3 of the Constitution, that we are a democratic, multi-party state. And I want to end up by giving this example. If you go to a place like Russia, somebody like Joseph Stalin built a lot of monuments which you can see up to now. If you go to South Africa, you can point monuments that the evil regime of apartheid left behind. But because of their human rights record, that record is still a permanent feature of the leadership of Stalin and the leadership of the racist regime in South Africa. And the main concern for us as a country now, and looking at what I saw in the front pages of papers today, we must always be careful that building a nation is not a brick and mortar kind of exercise. What is important and what is spelled out in our preamble, what is spelled out in Article 10 of the Constitution about principles and values of good governance, is that there are some core values that must become an integral part of our democratic state. And central to it is human rights. Thank you.
Asante sana. Indeed, central to the foundation of a nation is human rights. I want to turn to you, Millie, Honorable Millie Odhiambo. You have been known to be a fighter for human rights, especially for the vulnerable person. You are now sitting in Parliament, and we've just had the protector of the Constitution primarily is the Parliament. Now, I want you to reflect on what the governor has said, and particularly looking at the whole issue of Chapter 43, socioeconomic rights. And tell us, what do you think? Do you think Parliament can play a role to ensure that our counties deliver on this right? Because these are the tangible rights that Kenyans are asking for.
Good morning, and maybe I can start off by saying that since I come from the lakeside, I heard you introducing Senator Mungatana by saying he's a PhD student, where I yes, on a street that has now been named, and I was born after independence, and our parents spoke about how colonialists took away our rights and our dignity. And on the street that I grew up in, there were street lights, but then there were other amenities that were missing. But there was promise that was ripe for change. especially because the colonialists had gone away. But with the time, instead of us seeing positive move, we were actually regressing. And I wrote, I'm a writer. So I started writing a novel called The Things We Lost with Freedom, because I thought we had got freedom and lost with freedom. And it's a paradox, because then we were fighting so hard to remove the colonialists and ended up losing in the process. And I was looking at it in contradiction with countries where the colonialists stayed longer, like South Africa and Zimbabwe. And you could see that they had progressed in certain things because of that. And I think it's an uncomfortable truth that a lot of us as Africans leaders don't want to deal with. That when we have been given our freedom, instead of using our freedom for progress, we use our freedom for regress. But I want to say that, fortunately, I have been forced to halt writing my book. And it is a tragedy because I've had to halt it only because of the last probably a few years in Homa Bay, 3-4 years in Homa Bay. And the reason I halted it is because the reason I was writing this book is that I'd hoped to see the hospital bigger, better, offering better services. But it was worse than the hospital where I was born and raised in. It had gotten worse. I'd hoped the roads were tarmacked. The roads were not tarmacked. They were getting worse. Everything that we saw, we had running water in the house. There was no more running water in the house. So I was like, so why did we want freedom anyway? But that's why I'm saying it's changing in the last few years. And you can credit that to a deliberate effort by the national government towards inclusion of this area that has been marginalized for years because of being in opposition, and which is a tragedy, that we don't look at issues of inclusion and governance. You know, civil and political rights really marry a lot with social and economic rights. Because if you are not in government, then you are not served. So I would actually want to challenge our government to ensure that it doesn't matter whether people are in opposition or not, include every part of the country in development. And that is why a lot of my friends, I'm here with my friends who I told them I want you to come and experience Homa Bay. In the crowd here I have my friend who is from Nyandarua. And she was telling me, how come many places you hear people saying 1 term, and here people are just jumping saying 2 term. And I told her, if you go around here, you are seeing the roads. All these roads in reality are new. And it shouldn't be that way. It should be that development is there, and I make my decision independent of that road based on other governance facets. So what am I saying in summary? I'm saying that with the devolution, again, we are seeing now things changing. The governor for Homa Bay told us yesterday that the county government is already doing an emergency wing unit for Homa Bay Hospital. So that's a positive change. There are many dispensaries that are coming up in the county. That's a positive change with the devolution. So our challenge, especially as governors, is we have opportunity with the devolution for purposes of social and economic rights to change the trajectory of our own counties, to bring healthcare, to bring water, ensure there's access to water, healthcare and services. But then, of course, again, Honorable Rengo will tell you justice delayed is justice denied. Most of us think of it in terms of civil and political rights. But in this case, the justice delayed would be how quickly do governors get money from the, the national. How quickly does the money come? And for the first time, I'm happy that, and you'll confirm to us, that the CS Treasury has said that for the first time, the money has come, all the money has come in time. Because again, even if you say that you are allocating money to governors and it comes, late, then it affects planning and the delivery of service. Otherwise, what I can say as a country, that we kind of had a seesaw, but in civil and in social and economic rights, our greatest hope is with the counties working effectively. Thank you.
Thank you. Millie, I want to push a little on that, and maybe to encourage you to finish your book as a PhD student. But I also want to push a little bit on that. You talked about, we were colonized, we were left with something, we lost it. The second liberation was the Constitution. So how do we go about making sure we don't lose momentum? Because what you're speaking to is actually lost momentum. We seem to gain it, then we lose it. So how do we ensure we do not lose momentum? And how do we sustain that which you're speaking to now? You're saying things are changing. We can see in Homa Bay, you're telling us the hospital you're born in is much, much better now. But how do we make sure we don't lose it?
I think for me, it's about holding the leaders accountable. And there are different arms, and that's why I'm glad that we have civil society as well, but also the National Assembly as well, and the Senate as well. And the senators would really help us by ensuring that we hold our counties accountable. And the National Assembly would help us by ensuring we hold the executive accountable. And the civil society would help us by holding the members of parliament accountable. So it's about vigilance and accountability. And if we don't sustain that vigilance and accountability, then we would regress. And one of the things that I love about the Constitution, as Honorable Rengo has indicated, can you imagine even the recent challenges we had as a country if we did not have the Constitution? It would be a tragedy that you find somebody shoots, like the guy with the mask who was shot. And if we didn't have a constitution, what would be his recourse? Yeah, of course, we hope that cases of these extrajudicial killings would stop. But because you have a constitution, you can see that now there is even a talk about compensation, which I really welcome. And maybe just to also inform you that I'm the one who came up with the Victim Protection Act. And I'm glad that we are amending it to provide a stronger framework for compensation. But we need to not have. I'd be happy if the law I passed is ineffective because we are effective as a government, so that nobody needs to be compensated. That's my dream, that nobody needs to be compensated. But unfortunately, because you have rogue people, like the guy who shot the mask, and the tragedy is he's a very young guy. He's himself a very young guy, and he shot this guy. And now it's a loss which we don't. One life lost is one life too many. So for me, I think anchorage on the Constitution is what we need. Vigilance in ensuring the Constitution is implemented is what we need. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indeed, accountability to the Constitution must be what we pursue as a nation. And speaking to that, Honorable Mungatana, you're from Tana River, another PhD student, and listening to what Millie is saying, she's saying, if it has to work, there has to be accountability. Senate is an oversight organ. How would that organ go about oversighting counties to ensure that they are really drivers, practically so, of socioeconomic rights and human rights?
Oh, thank you very much. First of all, I want to really say how happy I am being in Homa Bay today. I took a morning jog on your way to Zero. And the enthusiasm of the people, I was amazed at how beautiful this place is, the hills, the greenery, it's so nice. And I thought if our girls came here, they won't go back to Tana River. So you're welcome to come to Tana River. It's beautiful. And I saw there's a lot of religion I saw people on the river there wearing white. I think they were doing baptism or something. And people who are doing overnight prayer meetings. So I think there's a lot of prayer. Maybe this is one reason why Gladys Wanga, governor, is succeeding so well. I think people have a lot of faith and enthusiasm. As I was running there, I just had Muzungu, Muzungu. I told them, no, mimi ni Mswahili. And they all laughed, I don't know. But it's beautiful. Thank you so much to be here. The weather is fantastic. Except that the sun, it comes late. I think it was rising a bit late from our side, and it goes down a bit later. I don't know. It gets time to get used to the place, but it's beautiful. Thank you, the people of Homa Bay, and I love my stay so far. Maybe to go back to what we are saying about accountability. May I just say, first of all, before I say about accountability, how, for me, my experience of democracy and human rights, from the time that we were in university, in the Law Society, and then, because we were in leadership in the Law Society at university, and then the Law Society of Kenya, and people like James, Paul Muite, were all ahead of us. They were our heroes. And it's a great pleasure that when I got elected first time, I sat in the same parliament with Paul Muite. Later on, we sat with James and other people who were in the fight for liberations. For I've seen it from the time when we were in university that you could not seat 5 people and discuss anything before some secret police people arrest you. It was so bad those days. You could not gather before you are told you are writing Mwakenyas and you are subject to, investigations. I remember things were very, very tight in those days. Even just holding a small demonstration. I was in leadership of the Law Society in Mombasa. And I remember we were just protesting against what we thought was the neglect by the second president then, Moi, because he was doing nothing, and there was a lot of problems in Tana River County. People were fighting, and the president those days, when he says something, it happens. And he was doing nothing. So we called Paul Muite to come and address us. We called Khelef Khalifa. We were in that human rights space. And just to demonstrate, just to walk, to show that we are disappointed, just to walk on the main streets to present a petition at the PC's place. We were being arrested, chased. Nowadays, things have changed. We have walked a long way from where we were. We have a new constitution. I was part of that making of the deal that brought the new constitution in Nakuru, Naivasha. And we got a new constitution. Now, when we got the new constitution, we got the governors. So let me speak as a senator, that the governors are very happy with senators when we are fighting for an increase of the funds that is called equitable share that comes to the governors. And this year, we got 405 billion that is coming down to the 47 counties. And this is an increase of 26.7 billion that is coming down to the 47 counties. Governors are always happy when we are fighting for an increment for the equitable share. But then when we are talking about accountability of these funds, accountability of the utilization of these funds, governors start spreading the rumors that we want to overthrow them. We are planning an impeachment motion. We are against them. This senator wants to come to my seat. Well, this is the problem we are having. What Millie is saying, that it is not yet independent. When she was writing her book, that things are deteriorating with new officers. It is true, because the governors do not want to be told, here you are wrong, here you are misusing funds, here the funding that ought to be, because you see, as a senator, it's not my business and it is not my part of my constitutional mandate to plan for how the budget will be utilized. I fight for the money to come. When the money comes to Tana River County, it is the responsibility of the governor to make sure that that money goes to health, that money goes to the roads that they are responsible for, basic education, to the salaries and all that planning. But then after that, the Auditor General comes and makes a report. And that report is the one that we do oversight. We call it secondary oversight. The primary oversight is supposed to be with the MCAs. The secondary oversight is supposed to be with us. And we try to do the best we can. But every time you are doing real-time oversight, like you visit a hospital and you visit a market that is being constructed to show that maybe there's no value for money, the governors are up in arms. So, in terms of going forward, I really want to emphasize this, that our county governments, for them to sustain development, they must allow proper oversight. They must not look at the Senate as enemies. They must not look at members of county assemblies as enemies. These are the people who are telling you, look, we allocated this amount of money for sports. There's nothing happening. We allocated this amount of money for health. There's nothing happening. I mean, I've just come from a fight with my governor. Because in the 2024-2025 budget, we allocated 18.6% of the budget for health. That comes to something like 1.23 billion that goes to that. And then when you look at what our people are saying, there's nothing going on with the hospitals. Yesterday, Honorable Governor, His Excellency Kangata here, was demonstrating how in Muranga County, he is able to tell, using digital technology, how many people have gone to hospital, even as he's sitting here, what diseases they are being examined for, how much medicine has moved from the pharmacies across Muranga County, where the vehicles are. This is where we should be going. And I really want to agree with Honorable Millie that we need to be honest, and transparency must be 100% in governance. And the only way is to use digital technology so that we are able to tell governors must stop thinking this money is theirs. They must think again that what this money came for is for the people. And they must also agree with us when we say Kangata is doing a good job, because we are able to see how many vehicles, he was here yesterday, how many vehicles are in the county, which one is parked at a bar. So even the drivers have behaved properly. Even the rate of accidents, county vehicles has reduced because of transparency. So in terms of sustaining the development, I think we need to have a reset in our minds. Senators are not here to fight you. Members of county assemblies are not fighting you. We are doing something called oversight, which is to simply ask the question, Your Excellency the Governor, you allocated 650 million for water. There is no water project. Where is the money? So I think we need to have a reset in our minds. I really think that if oversight mechanisms are properly applied, then the counties will start being accountable for the monies that come to them, and these systems will sustain themselves. And let me say something about human rights at the county level. Most governors do not like human rights defenders. They don't like them because these people are the ones who go and tell them the truth. They are the ones who file petitions in county assembly to ask questions, you know, and they don't support them. So what can governors and the county assemblies do? We in the Senate, we receive the petitions that say, oh, our land has been taken, oh, this has been done, and we have done our bit. Even yesterday, we went here to Ndiwa, hapa kwa Sukari's industry, to go and look at our committee on lands, to look at issues on pollution after we finished here with the official opening. We are doing our bit, but the important bit, I think, is to support those human rights organizations. We should have a budget that says those human rights organizations. We should have a budget that says we are going to support CSOs that are talking about women's rights. In Tana River County, children's rights in Tana River County, something like that. But governors across the country, they are not bothered with human rights people operating in this space. So for me, I am making an appeal that at the county level, we need to reset our minds. We need to say that we are all working together for the people. And then we need to be inclusive by helping the CSOs to come into government space by saying, you know, supporting the civil society organizations to be able to say what they see so that we can improve. When you tell me your trouser is not ironed, it doesn't mean that you don't like me. Governor, I'm just telling you, iron your trouser next time. Isn't that so? If I tell you your shirt is creased, I'm not saying I don't like your shirt. I'm just saying iron your shirt the next time. So let us have a reset so that at the county levels, we include the civil society organization. We work with the members of the county assembly. We work with the senators. Many senators may not be running for governorship. And so we should not look at senators as people who are threatening you. No. We are simply doing our work, and I think that attitude, if it's accepted, we are going to have stronger counties, we are going to have better human rights records within the counties, and we are going to have stronger civil society organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think one of the conversations that is obtaining is the place of transparency, accountability, to be able to uphold constitutional rights. And now I want to turn to you, Khalid, as a prominent practitioner in human rights and civil society, in the civil society area. If you could very, very quickly tell us, the relationship you've had with counties, as Bwana Mungatana said, seems to be very adversarial. Is there any way we can be more intentional in working with county governments to be able to pursue these rights and to ensure that Kenyans can get socioeconomic rights? Very, very quickly, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And it's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you to Council of Governors for giving civil society and human rights practitioners at the grassroots an opportunity to share our thoughts on this very important subject. It's true what Senator Mungatana has alluded to, that in many counties today, county governments perceive civil society as an enemy. And all we do is to play our role as civil society, as NGOs, as CBOs, as social justice centers. We have a responsibility to hold those in power accountable. And that responsibility has even become more pronounced, especially when traditional institutions that are meant to also support in holding leaders accountable are not doing that anymore. From the grassroots to, the national level, we are seeing institutions eroding their public trust. you know, and as civil society, we've continued, number one, not just to hold those accountable to book, but also those who are supposed to supervise to also do the same. So even as we speak, you know, we know the responsibilities of the Senate. The Senate has a duty to ensure accountability, as the Senator has alluded to, the secondary responsibility. We hold the opposition also to account because they also have a duty. And when you're a party in opposition and then you decide to go to bed with the government of the day, you are diluting your responsibility as an opposition party. So we also have to hold those institutions accountable. And for me, I think when we adopted the new constitution in 2010, devolution was a promise that everyone had so much hopes in. Unfortunately, and as we make reference to the Auditor General's report, you will find that that promise has somehow turned into plunder. Every other day, every year, you hear of mismanagement of resources, ghost workers, unaccounted or unsupported expenditure. And this is something that as civil society, we are very, very worried about. And we feel that devolution can play a bigger and better role than what we are seeing currently. County governments have the primary mandate to deliver on Article 43 of the Constitution. You know, social